I have a little schedule for what we're trying to do today in lecture. So I broke it up into two parts, so I'll record each part separately. The first part's just a continuation of the previous lecture about login reg. I just talked about login, but not necessarily registration. And then after that, I'm going to segue into a discussion about authentication. So it'll be a bit conceptual, but I'll also do some coding. And that should be everything you guys need to know in order to implement this section of Dojo Secrets. I think what I will do is I'm going to move back the required assignment for the end of the day today. And let's do something like the like assignment, okay? I also wanted to record this to provide some context on how to do these assignments. So since we're not doing TDD, the number one thing you're going to be looking at is the wireframe. So always refer to this tab to look at the wireframe because the wireframe may not be on every single tab on the assignments. So the end result of all your assignments is supposed to be an application like this, right? Now, there's a few particular assignments like this one that are just tests. It's just like, here's the assignment, it's tests, right? So instead of having to run the tests and complete them and be specific to the tests, I just want you guys to read these and make sure that all of these things are completed. And that's what will constitute finishing the assignment, okay? So any questions about that? Okay, so it's exam week. So I think that, it's getting close to unfortunate crunch time, right? Which means that there's going to be a lot of things that feel like very, very new concepts. And you're going to be, we're going to be kind of cramming a lot of that information Monday and Tuesday. So today and tomorrow. That being said, after that, what I want you guys to focus on isn't like these super kind of new concepts of authentication, authorization, because that is important only up to a certain point. I think the thing that's more important and the thing that I found most students struggle with Rails is many-to-many relationships. So that's going to be kind of the bulk of what I talk about Wednesday, Thursday, okay? So that being said, my goal is so that you guys feel at least comfortable taking the exam, maybe not passing it, but feeling comfortable taking the exam and understanding it on Friday, right? I'm open to retakes. I am going to have to limit the number of retakes, so that's why I want to prioritize you guys feeling confident in at least knowing what more you need to do from the exam, okay? Let's see, that's it, cool. So let's actually get into the code. So let's do vagrant SSH. Oops. So do you guys remember where we left off?
You just finished doing the login and talking about encrypt, but you said that you were going to leave the registration part of it up to us.
Yeah. So I think I don't want to leave you guys in the dark right now. So I'm just going to show you guys like the way that I'd approach it. And then from there, you can kind of get a better idea of how to do registration. Why is this not working? No. Let me see if I can open this in a new tab and go into the proper directory. This is login reg lecture. Okay, let's close this. The goal for the afternoon today is the student dashboard demo. I asked a few people in the cohort earlier today about what would be the best way to go about reviewing it. it seems like everybody is at a certain point where they kind of understand what a demo is doing, right? It's not like you need to build out most of the application before you come to the demo, right? So I think I'll just do a demo and not, because I was originally thinking about doing pair programming, but I think it would be better if you just spent most of your time on the Dojo stuff, okay? The Dojo secret stuff. Okay, so let's see if this goes. Do you guys have any questions? I'm just trying to fill in this dead air.
So for the exam, it's basically going to be, the main things are going to be similar to like the Python requirements, but adding authentication to it.
Pretty much. Yeah, and I will be a little more strict on the best practices side of it. Like, so for example, if you have a bunch of unused template files in your views directory, right, like the html.erbs, and they're just blank and you never use them, then I might have to like dock some points for it, right? But that's just more of a to get from red to black belt. Then I'll be very stringent on it, right? But for the most part, for the red belt, it'll be exactly that. Okay. Cool. You had a question too, Brandon?
Oh, will we go over the new database post?
Yeah, so that is the second half of the lecture. I'm going to record it separately. It shouldn't take too long. Okay, so let's blow this up a little bit. Let's go into our cohort, go into login reg lecture, and let's do Rails s-b0000. Now, let's just think about, okay, if I wanted to add registration, let's say I wanted to log in and register from the same page. So here, the session's new page kind of becomes the home page for our application. So let's just say right here, login and existing user. And then we'll say something like right here, register a new user. Now, what were the properties on my model? Let's check. Name, email, password. Easy. So let's just copy this form because I'm lazy. Okay. So what is the route that our form should post to if I'm creating a new user, I'm registering them? Slash users. I mean, you could add a slash create to it, right? But the name of the method is create.
RESTful is still just create.
Right. So let's have email. Let's add the name.
Kelly, you're recording this, right?
Of course. Okay. Let's get rid of this. Put this on a new line. And let's add a password confirmation. Okay. Let's see. Anything else? No, I think that's it. So if I start up my server, I go to localhost 3000. Then I get to this nice little form where I can register a new user. So when I submit this form, what do I need to do? What is like the step-by-step process of registering a new user?
Validating fields and
So yeah, validate the user, right?
then,
What do those validations entail? Like, what are some specific things that we want to validate?
presence, minimum length, and for the email that it's unique.
Right. So make sure that we have the email unique. Okay. So in order to make that happen, let's go to the user model, And let's look at the validation for uniqueness. So if we go here, we just say uniqueness true. Okay, so this is a great example. We could even copy paste that. So we'd say validates email uniqueness true. Okay, so everything else, including the, making sure the password and the password confirmation match, making sure the password is there, that's all handled by HasSecure Password, right? And let's just do like validates name, presence, true, length, in, let's say 2 to 20, maybe 45. Okay. So that is still going, which is good. Okay, so now that we go to this form and we submit it and it takes us to /users, it sends a post request there. What should our routes RB do? It should take us to post/users maps to the users create function. Okay, so let's go to the users controller and make that create function. So let's just create the user without any like sort of strong params, right? We'll just say user equals user.new. In the platform, they also say like U for shorthand. So what are the fields that we need to have? Right, something like that. So let me just grab this. Name, email, password, confirm password. And then let's just do this. Email, password, confirmation. Okay, that sounds good to me. Okay, so how do I check if a user is valid?
U.valid ?
Yeah. And that'll run the validators. So if it is valid, what should we do?
Save.
Yeah, exactly. U.save. Okay, and let's redirect to, let's go to sessions controller. What did we redirect to? /users. Okay. If we don't validate, then what should we do?
Render the index and show messages, basically.
Right. So we wanna do something like this, right? So we could even copy that logic. User.errors.full messages, redirect to /. That should work. Did I add the? I did not add the stuff for flash messages. So let me just do that right now. So I could say if flash messages, or is it flash errors? I forget. I called it errors. Whoops. If flash errors.h do error. Now how do I print these out? Just say %equals error, like that. And then I just need 2 little n's right here. There we go. Happy little flash messages. So if I submit nothing, undefined local method or variable user. I think I know what I did there. I called it u and not user. So this is u.errors.full messages. That's what I get for copy pasting. So if I go back, submit nothing, there we go. Okay, so now we have some validation. So it really depends on how you want to make your application, but for now, if we want to redirect to a page that, let's say in the future, right, aka later in this lecture, we only want logged in users to look at, then we should probably log in our user when we register them, right? Only seems fair. So here, how do I make sure that a user is logged in? How do I interact with session?
Session
It would be session something like that, right? And then what's the key that we called it? Let's look here. It's user ID, right? Now, what is this equal to?
True. Is it like if it's
It's supposed to be an ID, right?
Oh, okay.
What's the? Do we have a variable right now that has the ID that we want to add to session? U, right? So I could say u.id. Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? Kind of like what we did with the sessions controller, right? I said if user.authenticate params password session user ID equals user.id. Same workflow. Just find the variable that when you register or log in, you have access to that user, so just grab its ID and then set something in session equal to it, okay? So that's the general concept. So let's try to register somebody new. Let's say Javier Hernandez. I don't know if that's how you actually spell Chicha's real name, but let's say Chicharito. I don't even know if I'm spelling that right, at mexico.com. And his password is password. Oops. Did not mean to say that out loud. Okay? So that's how I get to this page. Now, that being said, let's talk about authentication. So, what is an example of authentication? What do you guys think authentication means?
Verifying, like, for example, like the user's email is correct.
That's validation, right? That's part of the authentication process, right? But when a web app enforces authentication, right? It forces you to authenticate. What does that mean?
To verify that you have the permissions to view a certain page or
Exactly.
information.
Right? So let's say this might be not super professional, but let me try logging into Facebook right now. And let's see if I have like a page that I can go to. So let's go here and let's try to access that page without authenticating in an incognito window. It says, I can't see this page, right? So here, certain pages on any site, right, they could possibly require authentication. They require you to log in, right? So what can I compare this to? I can compare this to like if you're at a bar or somewhere that's 21 and over, right? Authentication is the act of the bar making sure that everybody inside is over the age of 21, okay? So that means the client needs to carry something on them in order to authenticate. What is the thing that the client needs in order to authenticate? In the example, right? But how about in Rails? What's kind of like our driver's license? What is our unique? It's our user ID, right? And where is our user ID stored?
In session.
In session. So what you do is you check everyone's ID, aka you check everyone's session, okay? If they don't have a key in that place in session that has that ID, right, then they haven't logged in and you kick them back out, okay? So let's talk about how we actually would implement that. And while I do that, I wanted to ask you guys, kind of open-ended, why is this so important?
Because anyone could like text, type in a URL to a page that might have like information they're not supposed to see, and if they don't have a session ID, they're not allowed on the page.
So yeah, it provides a level of privacy and security for your web app, right? And not only that, there's a bigger purpose, and what that is let's do the incognito thing again, and let's try to go directly to /users without logging in. What's going to happen? It's going to break. So for the safety of your application, right, it's such a bad look if somebody goes to like, oh, kevinkim.com, let's check it out. what the heck? There's a Rails error here, right? It's not good looking. So in order to prevent this, usually anything that requires session ID, right, needs authentication. Okay, so any page that's like, hello, your name, right, requires authentication. That's kind of a good rule of thumb, yeah.
Okay, when you do, you know how like in terminal you run, you should create .new.save, like you put your name and age and the ID creates that gets made automatically, right? Is that what session is, or
Session's a kind of a different thing. Session is a way for servers to keep track of clients. The database is a way for the server to keep information about users over time.
so you know to use session? Like, do we need to run different? Like, is there certain session commands in terminal? Like,
No.
Okay.
Not at all. Session's built in.
Okay. All right.
It's not like Django where you have to migrate session. Okay? So now that I've talked about that enough, how do we implement it? Well, this is what we're going to call our route that requires authentication. Okay? So to require authentication, what's our first step? We need to check if the session has a key called user ID. Okay? Then we'll do this. We'll just continue on. Oh boy. We'll just continue on right here. Okay. Now else, if they're not in session, then we could say something like flash errors equals you don't belong here. Register first, please. Right? And then we could say redirect to / to take them back to the login page, right? So here, again, check session. If not in session, send to login page. So now, if I go to localhost 3000 /users, I get sent back out. My app never broke. Okay? Any questions about that? So where is this going to be important? It's not only important on pages where, like, you know, oh god, Cristiano, or is it? It's just Ronaldo. Ronaldo at Portugal.com. I like soccer is his password. Okay, cool. Not only on pages where we need like their name to show up, right? Where else do we need the session user ID?
On the index. Like on the update.
I mean, just like in general, separate from this application, right? Think of something like the wall. Why did I need to be logged in to post something on the wall?
So that your comment could be tied to your user ID.
Exactly. Okay. So if you have anything related back to the user model, and it says the user who posted this should appear on the page, right, or should be attached to that item in the database, you know you need session. Okay. So yeah, that's kind of the whole basic rundown of authentication. So let's do one last thing, a little bit of a interesting OOP thing about Rails, kind of similar to the layouts in the views side of a Rails app. On the controller side, let's take a look at what we're inheriting from. We're inheriting from application controller, right? So what we could do is we could refactor this code and create a private function within the application controller called require login. Now, I'm going to write this all in one line, but I'm going to say redirect to / unless session user ID, or you could say if session user ID is equal to nil. Okay? Now what I could do here now is I could just say, oh, instead of writing all this stuff, let's do that. I can get rid of all this code and just say require log. Does the exact same thing. Okay, so let me open up a new one, localhost 3000 users. Oh, darn it. Hold on. Couldn't find it. Why is that? I might have to register it as a helper method, or it might be that the server didn't update. So let's try restarting. Why did require login not show up? Let's go back to application controller. So this concept here is called filters. And let me just double check and make sure that what I wrote for the filter is not wrong. Because we might need to register it. Before action, say hello. Application controller, say hello. Let's try moving it around. So here, require login apparently is not defined. But I thought if I added a helper method, it would work. Let's see. Might be later on. I forget the syntax for adding a helper method. While this page is loading, do you guys have any questions? No?
Kevin, like this session that we're using,
Mhm.
do you remember back in the survey form assignment where like when we just submitted random name and emails, like you said that those are sessions. Is that session similar to the session that we're using right now?
I don't know what the first thing you're talking about is actually.
The set like we have in this demo we have a session controller and a route called /sessions. Like is that same.
It's talking about the same session, yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
But session is not a model.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what I don't get. Like I mean, like we're gonna in this we are logging and registration and I was just assuming that we will log in users that we created in the model.
Yeah, you can do it that way. The only reason I wrote it this way is because that's what the platform says.
Okay, but
If you want to make it on the users controller or login method without making a separate sessions controller, that's totally fine.
okay, but in this but right now what you're doing is instead of creating user model, you're just using session.
No, I created a user model as well. I didn't create a session model.
Okay.
There is never going to be a session model.
You're just putting the users, the logic instead of in the users controller in a session controller.
Sorry, could you say that one more time?
Instead of putting like all the information, the logic in the user controller, you're putting it in a session controller.
Putting it in a session.
Because you created a session controller, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because that could overload the user controller with too many methods.
Okay.
And you don't want your controllers ever getting too fat, as they say. Okay? So I think I messed up here. Sorry, guys. I think this filter needs to actually belong on the controller that it's working with. So let's just change that, make this private. And let's say something like before action require login. So here I get kicked out. Okay? Now, oh no, I broke everything. Was this a, oh good, it's an incognito window. Awesome. So if I go to /users, I get put in as Javier Hernandez, and if I go back here, I'll get kicked back out. Now, let's take a look at this. So we can refactor this code so that we run this require login method before any of these routes. Okay. Now the question I want to ask to you is, do we want to do that?
Creating a user, why would you require login?
Exactly, right? So here we need to add something, and we need to say only index. Okay, so you say only, and then you'll say an array of symbols that describe the methods that you want to require login for. So if I refresh this page, if I go to /users, it should still kick me out. But if I register a new user, let's say I'm now part of the World Cup. I can still log, I can still register, fine. Okay? So that's pretty much it for the authentication stuff. I think the hardest thing will be attaching information from session, the user ID, into a query in your actual in these assignments like secrets, right? Like how you get those things to be associated with one another. You guys are pretty used to doing it with things not in session, right? When you guys did the student dashboard, you had dojos having many students, and then that relationship is also a one-to-many, right? But handling it with session is a little different, so you guys just got to get used to that. Okay, cool. Anything else that I should talk about? No. Covered all that. Any questions about this section before I move on to the shorter Postgres stuff? Yeah.
Just for the test, are we going to have to do like the strong params under like a private for like security?
I think it's good practice, right? But it's not your number one priority.
Okay.
Your number one priority is to get the application to work,
Yeah.
right? And then after that, whatever you can do to fulfill the best practices will likely help you on your way to a black belt, right? So if you're in the stage where you're going to get a red belt going to black belt, then you can try to add some of those more best practice things. But for now, for the red belt, all I want is just it to work. Yeah, exactly. What's up?
For login and reg, are we required to use private, public, protected method?
For login reg.
Like those sort of assignments, like okay, or just that like I had an idea that for like when you say the username password, since it's confidential, you might want to make that private. I mean just a theory.
Right, but the database and the encrypting of the password already does that for us.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So you don't have to worry about that. Okay. Cool. So end of day goal is secrets. So we're just going to need to basically make full CRUD on users and have them authenticate. And then you'll add this related thing. The more you can get ahead, the better. We're going to be talking more about filters tomorrow, including like some helper methods and stuff like that. But I would say tomorrow will be sort of the end of new material for you guys. Okay, everything else will start being reviewed. That being said, that doesn't mean it necessarily becomes easier, right? It's still challenging, just in stuff that you've already done before. All right, cool. Thanks, guys.